Hello and welcome to another game review. This week I will be reviewing a game that came out back in 2015, but it's a game that needs to be talked about more. Axiom Verge is a side-scroller action-adventure, or a better term to describe it would be saying that it is a Metroidvania game, even though it is more inspired by Metroid than Castlevania, which means that there will be a lot of platforming and shooting with a plethora of different weapons and a lot of exploration and backtracking. The game starts off with a short intro that introduces the main character Trace, who wakes up in a mysterious world after a huge lab accident that happened just moments before. There he meets Elsinova, who is a member of the Rusalki civilization, who are basically huge robots with distinctly female-shaped faces, and she tells Trace that he has to help them survive and to get rid of the main antagonist, Athetos. I won't talk any more about the story, so I don't spoil it, but you will have to trust me when I say that the story is quite captivating and that the end is quite mind-exploding and not what you expected, even though there is heavy foreshadowing during the whole game. But you can as well go through the whole game without paying attention to the story, and even then, you won't miss out on a lot of fun because of the gameplay and exploration. The overall gameplay is quite reminiscent of old-school side-scrolling shooters like Metroid and Contra, but it is quite obvious from the art style that the main inspiration was Metroid, all the way from the sci-fi setting to the synth music. But this is not a bad thing. The developer obviously took his time to polish everything, and good thing that he did, because otherwise the plethora of backtracking would be unbearable. And trust me when I say this, there is a lot of backtracking. Whenever a new ability or weapon is acquired that gives the character an ability to jump just a bit further, or later on to phase through walls, you can be sure that there are at least 10 secret rooms in prior areas that can be explored now. This could be seen as padding the game, and yeah, maybe it is. But I don't mind it because I wanted to use all of my new weapons and upgrades to kill low-level enemies that used to give me so much trouble before. And believe me, this is where the game shines. There are 20 weapons that can be found through the game, some on obvious places and some that are quite hidden. And to top all of that off, there are 3 secret weapons that can be found in the game's secret world areas that are randomly spawned in every playthrough. And there can be only one per set playthrough. So, if you want to collect all 3 bonus weapons, you would need to play the game's New Game Plus feature 3 times. But even the base weapons are a lot of fun. They can shoot bombs, laser, lightning and many other devastating projectiles, and it is up to each player to find the ones that they prefer. But what are fun weapons if there are no fun enemies to use them against? Thankfully, there are many different enemies in Axiom Verge, and which enemies you come across will depend on what region you are in. And of course, the latter parts of the game will have much stronger enemies, which will challenge the player's skill and check what they have learned so far. And of course, there are the big baddies, the bosses. Every boss is distinct from one another, and each one of them will require the use of specific tactics and even platforming. And to top all of that off, they are all quite well designed, and it's a treat to find them, even though it can get quite frustrating sometimes. But it is still all worth it after you best the boss and get a feeling of satisfaction that is quite hard to get by these days, with all the hand-holding that most of the games do. So, to wrap this all up, Axiom Verge is quite a good indie game that I wanted to spread awareness of. It has so many items and weapons that make the game stand out from other games, and together with the exploration element, it has even a huge replayability value. So, if you are looking for a cheap indie game to pass the time with, you should totally consider Axiom Verge. And if you like what I do here, do leave a like or subscribe. That would help a lot with growing my channel. And as always, goodbye, and thanks for listening.